encouraging you to listen to more, not less, of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Senator Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome in, all you brick houses, and what would the men be? I don't know. Sexy men, fine men, I don't know. Everybody's a brick house. Shout out to you. Welcome in. You are locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580, here for your entertainment news update. It's Juneteenth weekend, so I know you're getting it off out there, whether it is relaxing and unplugging and decompressing. Of course, not unplugging for us here at KBLA, but, you know, the rest of the world, the madness. Or you are taking time to reflect how you can lean further in and make sure that your voice is heard in these unprecedented times. All of that. I hope that you are enjoying yourself. But now it's time for you to grab your snacks, get your libations, get your beverage, because we are getting into the day's trending topics and headlines. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to discuss as always. From $20 million lawsuits. I tell you what, though, people are out here. They're like, I see the coin, and you know, it's hard to put a price on pain and suffering, right? But everyone seems to have found their numbers. You know what I'm saying? We don't want you criminally charged. We want you to be free to pay us these millions. Not saying that, you know, that's the only feeling, but it certainly feels very litigious at this time. So we're going to get into the details of another one. We're also going to get into the details of the Diddy case for this week. The prosecution is very close to wrapping up their case. Defense expects to take 2 days to present their case. And then that means we go to the jury for deliberation. So, you know, we could soon learn the fate of one Sean P. Diddy, Puffy, Puff Daddy, Love Combs. So we'll get into the details of that. Plus, you know, we have interviews coming up today. Elio, it's a Pixar Disney film. It drops in theaters. So we have an interview with the star of that, along with Clifton Powell. You know Clifton Powell. He of all of our favorites. I'm going to point out one of my favorite roles in Menace to Society, Chauncey. We have an interview with him. He is guest starring this week on BMF as Pastor Clarence, and it is such an interesting character. So we have a conversation with him coming up. Plus, you know, all of the other trending topics and headlines. So before we get into that, let's drop a few conversation starters to get you ready. So first up, it is summertime. I believe the 21st is the actual first day of summer. Might be the 20th. I'm not sure. But it is officially we outside. And it's also cause for celebration because Cardi B has finally dropped a single from what is supposed to be her second album dropping relatively soon. The single is called Outside, and Cardi's outside. So it makes perfect sense. It's just in time for the summer, right? It's full Bronx energy. It's up-tempo, it's beat, it's attitude heavy. It's something for the girls because, you know, talking about I'm not connected no more. I'm in these streets. Heavy. I know Offset is sick, right? And, you know, here he comes with a rollout of his own, talking about all the truth, all the things that he held back to protect the image he's going to be unleashing. So we'll have to see. But I think Cardi has a little one for the girls. You know, I'm always here for a little summertime bop. It's no more, I mean, are we still city girl summer? Is it still hot girl summer? I don't know. Well, it's outside per Cardi B. So that's where we're rolling it with that one. Also, shout out to the Los Angeles Dodgers. On Juneteenth, ICE agents reportedly requested access to the parking lots at Dodger Stadium, allegedly to just set up, I guess, a base center. We are unclear, but the Dodgers denied them entry and issued a public statement affirming their support of inclusivity and safety. The game went on as scheduled, but I mean, ICE is trying to pull up everywhere. Have you hit up your local car wash? It's a trip out here.
It really is. I mean, they was over there by, what is that, Crenshaw? I forgot the name of the church. Frederick K.C. Price.
Oh, right.
They was over there in that area, the Vermont area. Shout out to Adrian Shropshire. They just interviewed one of the nonprofit leaders or whatnot in that area. I mean, the community is over here tripping right now. You know what I mean? I recently got a haircut over there in the Lenox area where ICE kind of has been, patrolling these last couple of weeks or whatnot. And I didn't see anything, but, you kind of have noticed in the streets not much activity. I mean,
a little different.
Just a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
A little bit,
folks are just staying inside or whatnot. So it's interesting times out here in Los Angeles.
That it is. Listen, when we come forward, we're going to get into more trending topics and headlines. All of that and more on the other side. You're locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Get some outside. Yeah. When I tell you these they shoot, please believe me. They gon' on anything. These way too easy. Good for nothing, low down dirty dogs. I'm convinced. Next time you see your mama, tell her how she raised the going out on the pop out. Cause it's hot out. You was playing games. You on time out.
Your ride with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-550-9651.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
May 6th was World Asthma Day, and it's a critical time to raise awareness about your asthma. Did you know that Black Americans are approximately 5 times more likely than white Americans to visit the emergency department due to their asthma? Managing your asthma is possible with regular checkups, avoiding known triggers, using prescribed medications correctly, and creating an asthma action plan with your healthcare professional. An action plan is a personalized plan you create with your doctor that shows you what to do and what medications to take to help control your asthma when you're having a hard time breathing or having an asthma attack. Stay aware, have a plan because your health matters. For more tips and resources on managing your asthma, visit luma-edu.com. luma-edu.com. This message is brought to you by Amgen and AstraZeneca.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more entertainment news with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah. I love hip-hop. I love this hip-hop game. Here's a little. Stay in your motherfucking lane. You with it done. Yeah, follow me. 50. He's the fakest thug you ever seen. Curtis Jackson, how come he can never ever be seen? Once I got you, I'ma give you my foe for foe. My foe for foe. My foe for foe. I'ma give it to you. Yeah, 50, you gon' end up.
Welcome back in. You're locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. You know Andy's always on theme, right? So I mentioned Fat Joe, and Fat Joe allegedly, you know, had a little bit of beef with Curtis, as we hear on Wax right here. And we're going to get into those details. But before we do, a couple of things. First of all, if at any point you want to get in on this conversation, 800-920-1580. Of course, you can hit us up on social media, KBLA 1580. I'm at Stiletto Jill. We have a new app. Go download the app. Check us there. And, Andy,
I've had a couple phone calls of some individuals concerned about our app and thought that maybe, you know, the app has been malfunctioned. So my app automatically updated. If your app probably didn't automatically update, go to your Google Play or your Apple Store and try to update it that way. Maybe you'll be able to get your app updated. Okay. Thank you for that. That's very important, you know, because you can listen to us on the go. Leave us a voice note there. We enjoy those. And then I also, well, shout out to the YouTube chat. You know, they're always in here, in there, getting it in. But in the chat, Royale Jenkins brought up something, and I want to acknowledge it. We have to send condolences and lots of love and light to the family of Calvin Yarborough, and people. Their song Don't Stop the Music was like, you know, a childhood favorite. And I think that is the video that Ice-T is in. He plays the male lead in that video, if I'm not mistaken. They, I believe, were also songwriters. Wrote some hits for some other people, and you know, just that good 80s Soul Train Saturday morning clean up the house music back in the 80s. So you know, lots of condolences and love and light to his family, friends, and fans on his loss. Okay, well, speaking of that loss, so Fat Joe has been hit with a $20 million lawsuit, and there are murder for hire allegations, and there's also allegations of abuse and denials. So let's get into the details, right? This story is, of course, blowing up hip-hop headlines. And Terrence T.A. Dixon, he's Fat Joe's former hype man, and he has filed a $20 million lawsuit accusing Joe of everything from financial fraud to attempting to have 50 Cent 186th, right? So according to the filing, Dixon claims Fat Joe put a bag on 50 Cent's head around 2006, 2007, hiring hitmen who backed off after seeing 50 was rolling deep with Navy SEAL type security. Okay? That's first up. You can't talk as much trash as 50 does, survive the shots, and not hire protection and security. Right? Andy, that song that you just played, the 50 diss from Joe, when did that drop? Man, that was, let me see here.
Andy's checking the facts for
That
us.
was 2005.
So a year before, allegedly, this activity, Joe procured these particular services, allegedly, right? The suit also accuses Joe of forcing Dixon to record sexual acts, a la some Diddy stuff, witnessing Joe engaging in sex with underage girls and other coercive behavior, right? Fat Joe, through his attorney, said the claims are false and retaliatory in what they're deeming a coordinated extortion scheme. and the lawyer filing the case, I'm going to say this, right? And no jokes here. I mean this with all sincerity. If you are serious about something that allegedly happened to you relating to a person of influence, a person in the light, a celebrity, I implore you, do not seek the services of either Tony Busby or Tyrone Blackburn. Well, Tyrone Blackburn is the lawyer defending Terrence Dixon. And we know, we've heard about Tyrone Blackburn in the Diddy case. There were several incorrect filings that he made. He is the one who filed the Little Rod lawsuit that had photographs in it of random people's homes that were included more for shock value and media attention than actual factual filings. Those people were dismissed from the case, but you haven't heard a lot about that, et cetera, et cetera. So that is who is representing this TA. So I don't know how you feel about that, but that automatically, for me, just kind of brings up red flags. So there's that. 2 federal judges have already criticized, as we know, Blackburn's conduct, right? And we heard in the Diddy trial how one of the witnesses retained him as a lawyer, and he put incorrect and false information in their filing. And they admitted to this on the stand. So Joe has already filed a separate defamation lawsuit against Dixon earlier this year for accusing him of being a PDF, right? So it is a mess. It is very layered. There's a lot of legal strategy. I feel some of it is very much influenced by what has played out with Diddy, what we have seen Diddy accused of, the manner in which it was rolled out. And here's the thing, being honest, right? If we're being honest, now, I don't know. This gentleman said that, Joe was paying for underage girls to get BBLs and stuff, which, where's the doctor that was doing that? Shouldn't he be named in something as well? Shouldn't you be bringing, somebody bringing criminal charges if that's the case? But another conversation. The point is, though, remember all the suits that were filed once Cassie's lawsuit was filed, but none of them matched the details or the approach that we learned during the trial of the freak off. They were just, he got violent and raped me. And so far, none of those things match up. But it did inspire a lot of things. And we've seen a lot of cases, a lot of things being thrown around in hip hop. Some are equating this to hip hop's Me Too moment, right? And the thing is, hip hop, we know, could be a dirty game. A lot of the individuals, especially from the time period where these things are coming from, also engaged in a lifestyle that was outside. It's the first day of summer, right? And so we got to give outside a little love, and we'll just leave that as that, kind of unclear statement of what they were doing outside. But a lot of these people were involved in outside activities, allegedly on record, being followed. So some of the accusations don't seem like too far of a stretch of things that could be going on in that environment. However, the timing is always something that people are going to bring up, especially one like this where, as a man, you participated in all of this for years and years and years, and then you didn't find the, let's say, courage to speak up until after you saw all of these multi-million-dollar lawsuits coming to pass. So those are just some questions that, are being laid out on social media because, listen, we are always going to have questions, right? It's just the way these things go down. What else is being said by Joe's attorneys is that we didn't just sue a disgruntled former employee trying to revive a false claim from 15 years ago. We also sued the lawyer behind it all, a la Jay-Z suing Tony Busby. Tyrone Blackburn, as we mentioned, has a well-documented pattern of abusing the courts to harass defendants and generate media attention. We mentioned the 2 separate federal judges. One filing headline chasing lawsuits full of salacious and baseless claims, and the other for making repeated legal misstatements and personal attacks in his court filings. He is now subject to a pending referral in the Southern District's disciplinary committee. So, in fact, he might not even be able to pursue this case in the Southern District because he might lose his standing there just based off of some of the things that have happened, right? His attorney, meaning Joe's, also said law enforcement is aware of the extraordinary demands at the heart of this scheme. And all of the allegations are complete fabrications, lies intended to damage his reputation, and force a settlement through public pressure. They're saying Joe won't be intimidated and that they are going to expose this fraudulent activity, and everyone involved, stressing everyone, will be held accountable. So, what are your thoughts on all of that? Is it something that seems plausible, or do you think it's just a money grab? Fahima in the chat says, when someone files a civil lawsuit, they must show how they were harmed, not what was criminally done to others. Well, I mean, he's alleging some other things, that he was forced, he was scared, that type of thing. So I think, emotional distress is some of the fiber that they are working on, and the fact that they are alleging he was forced to do criminal acts. I mean, it's just so very, very much, The other thing, right, is that allegedly, much like sort of we heard with Diddy, when Diddy heard that Suge Knight was down the street at Mel's Diner on Sunset. Diddy just lives a stone's throw away in Beverly Hills. It's like a doop, quick little drive. Allegedly, Fat Joe discovered that 50 was at a New York venue. And I told you why the plan was scrapped, right? He said that Joe couldn't find anybody else to try and get it done again, so he just had to let it rest. He's saying that there was financial fraud that he was forced to do, right? So intimidation, I guess, violent intimidation against him, right? And I don't understand how he was coerced into recording the acts. Like, sir, did you have to stay in the room? He didn't have a camera. I'm just really confused about some of this. Sounds a little questionable, but we'll have to see what comes to pass with all of this. I don't know, guys. It's a lot. Speaking of lawsuits, since we're on the path of that, Johnny Gill said that he is going to file a lawsuit against one of the escorts in Diddy's trial. This individual went on an interview with Armand Wiggins on YouTube. Armand has gained a lot of popularity through this trial, through his reporting and daily updates. Should check him out. He's great. I watch his. He claimed that when he first got to Hollywood, he was at a party back in the day, and that he saw Eddie Murphy and Johnny Gill engaged in, a kiss. Well, Johnny posted on his social media that remember, Johnny just took a lie detector test recently, proving that he is not a gay man. So Johnny said that he is tired of this rumor. It's been swirling the drain basically for years. And that he is finally going to get litigious behind these rumors. Again, we've talked about he's not the only one. We discussed Judge Faith and Kenny Lattimore putting out a statement that they are suing these anonymous YouTubers. We've seen Megan Thee Stallion. We talked about several people that have cases out there against, these. I'm not being disrespectful of saying this, but these new media journalists, we'll call them, or new media bloggers, YouTubers, however you want to term it. Cardi B probably kicked it off with Tasha K. She's still waiting for that $4 million, but, Tasha K said it's on the way. They worked out some payment arrangements. And we'll have to see. Pretty Brown Mimi in the chat says, Fat Joe's hype man sounds like he was complicit until they fell out, allegedly. Does kind of sound like that. Sounds like that with a couple of individuals. You know, you're with it until you're not. When you can get the access to the lifestyle is very seductive to a lot of individuals. I will say that. And we see that. We've seen that through some of the testimony in the Diddy case. We've seen that in some of the conversations that have floated out on social media about others. And we got to get back to a time where people are more comfortable standing on their moral compass and their convictions. I know it's hard, though, because we're talking about a lifestyle that, even if you are doing the right thing, may not get you to where a lot of these people are and the experiences that are there. So we'll have to see. When we come forward, we're going to get into details of the final week of the prosecution's case in the Diddy lawsuit. We're also going to get into a little Keke Palmer. She says she was forced to drop an interview on her podcast because of sponsors. So we'll hear what she has to say about that. Plus more trending topics and headlines. You're locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Don't you stop it. Don't you stop the music. The beat keeps going round and round. Don't you turns me upside down. I just wanna rock you all night.
Are you ready for the hottest entertainment scoop in Los Angeles? She's bringing you exclusive interviews with today's biggest stars, behind-the-scenes Hollywood insights, and all the entertainment news you need to know. She's breaking down what's trending, what's ending, and what's just beginning in the world of entertainment. You're riding with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The city of Aurora, Colorado is being sued after moving city council meetings online.
And we would put all meetings virtually until there was a ruling in the Colin Lewis civil case.
Median Holmes, a community advocate, says ending in-person comments silences protest over the police killing of Kylan Lewis, an unarmed black man. The city plans to fight the lawsuit. Court has been adjourned for the week in Sean Diddy Combs' sex crimes trial. His former assistant testified about buying drugs for him. The government may rest their case Monday with the defense set to follow. The trial could end before July 4th. And on Juneteenth, President Trump criticized the number of non-working holidays in the U.S., calling them costly and unnecessary. He says workers don't want them and called for change. Juneteenth, which marks the end of slavery, was not recognized at the White House. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In Santa Monica, East 10 at Centinela, they're clearing it out of lanes and delays are loading up away from 20th Street. Beyond the crash, you've got more slowing ahead in Mid-City from Robertson and stretches to La Brea. And the South LA Drive, 110 northbound, backing up from the 105, heavy and slow all the way to Stadium Way. We're looking at Burbank on the South 5. That's loading up as well, away from Olive. Heavy and slow all the way to the 110, more slowing ahead from the 60 in pockets to the 605.
Temecula Valley Balloon and Wine Music Festival is happening June 20th through 22nd, featuring Walker Hayes, Cody Jinks, Alabama, and more. Tickets are available now at TemeculaValleyFestival.com. Powering the best events from start to finish. Events.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The NBA Finals will have a Game 7 for the first time in 9 years. Either the Indiana Pacers or Oklahoma City Thunder will win their first NBA championship in franchise history. The last time the NBA Finals went to a Game 7 was in 2016 when LeBron led Cleveland past Golden State to win the title. Game 7 is Sunday in OKC, 5 p.m. tip-off on ABC. A very interesting HBCU football game is generating a lot of buzz in Philadelphia. Norfolk State and Delaware State are meeting up on Thursday, October 30th at Lincoln Financial Field, home of the NFL Eagles. Both teams have popular former NFL players entering their first season as a college head coach. Former quarterback Michael Vick is at Norfolk State. Former wide receiver Deshaun Jackson is at Delaware State. Vick and Jackson played for the Eagles. Alumni interested in going to the game can get tickets at Ticketmaster.com. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
The revolution will not be televised.
What's up? It is Killer Mike, also known as Michael Render, and I'm encouraging you to listen to more, not less of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Senator Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
Catch Prep is now enrolling for summer credit recovery in fall 2025. As South Los Angeles' top-performing high school in English, math, and college access, Catch Prep is welcoming all 9th through 12th graders to enroll now. Catch Prep offers a small, supportive, and safe learning environment to help all students succeed, so that all students feel valued, respected, and motivated to reach their full potential. For the past 20 years, Catch Prep has helped more students of color gain admission to top-tier universities, with our graduating seniors earning a total of $3 million in scholarships, more than any other school in Los Angeles. We are dedicated to helping all students turn your college dreams into reality. Catch Prep is now enrolling. Visit us online at catchhighschool.com or call 323-293-3917. Space is limited. Please enroll now for summer credit recovery and fall 2025. Call 323-293-3917 or enroll today at catchhighschool.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome back in. You are locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. I hope if you're riding in your car listening to this, you got the windows down, you recline the seat just a little bit. You got a sunroof, open that up and let the breeze kick in. You know, the sun is just going down. It's a nice day. And this is a nice song to vibe to. Shout out to Andy for setting the vibes, setting the mood. You're locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. A vibe. we are going to enjoy this summer. I'm going to make sure of it as long as you're here each and every Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Don't forget weekends, 1 o'clock on Saturday, 3 o'clock, I believe it is, on Sunday. I think so. Lock in with me. Tap in with me. I, have more treats coming up for you guys because it's summertime and all of the things. All right. Now, let's get into the details of this final week of the prosecution presenting their case for the Diddy trial. So, Brendan Paul, another of Diddy's assistants, I do notice that the last run of the assistants for about the last 10 plus years have all been white males. Thought that was pretty interesting. I wonder what the reason behind that was. Maybe things got too heated when he had the, quote, assistant Mia, and there were some things happening there. Not sure. But this latest assistant, Brendan Paul, remember, he is the one that played basketball. He's a former college basketball player. And when shortly after the feds raided Diddy's home, remember, Diddy was just about to go on vacation with his daughters, and Brendan was arrested at the airport. He had several drugs on him. They were referring to him as the drug mule. Obviously, most people figured he was, carrying that stuff for his boss. He does have immunity, so he was speaking freely without the fear of prosecution as long as he didn't lie. Again, who determines if he's lying? The prosecution. But this is what he revealed, right? He worked for Diddy from late 2022 through March of 2024. His job included procuring drugs, setting up freak-off rooms, and cleaning up after the act, sometimes with gloves for sanitary reasons. We've heard about the conditions of the room, baby oil prints on the walls, oil everywhere, sheets and things to cover the furniture. High cost to have those rooms repaired after the fact, right? After Cassie's 2023 lawsuit, Diddy allegedly moved the freak-off locations from hotels to private residences, including the home of Jane Doe, right? We heard about Jane Doe, who was the girlfriend after Cassie, the one that attended a freak-off in Vegas with a high-profile rapper and his wife for her birthday. She said she didn't participate. She just watched one of the escorts that used to get it in with her and Diddy, get it in with this individual's wife / girlfriend, whatever the case may be, of their union in a room full of people. Okay. The DOJ also released new photos from the raids of Diddy's LA home, dozens and dozens of boxes of Astroglide, baby oil, and multiple narcotics. Some of the cases for the Astroglide and baby oil had fancy, suitcases or briefcases to keep them in. Paul claims that he would even take drugs with Diddy to prove his loyalty. He's not the first assistant that we've heard that from, that Diddy kind of, will shove a pill in the mouth or, have them get into the ketamine or the pink cocaine, presumably maybe sometimes to get them on tape while out so that they, feel a little pressure. I don't know. But all of this is basically to tie in the RICO and racketeering charges, which, if I'm being honest, I believe through the excerpts that we've heard, feel like the prosecution has done their job in that area. And I suspect at some point, Keke, his chief of staff, we've heard a lot about her. Remember, they have her phone, and there are even text messages and video recordings on that phone with Diddy saying we probably shouldn't be, discussing this on the phone. So we'll have to see. Prosecution is wrapping up their case. Defense expects to take about 2 days for their case, and it will go to jury. So the timeline seems at the moment before the 4th of July holiday. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll keep you tapped in on that. Now let's get into this Keke Palmer story really quickly. Keke has hinted that her podcast interview with Jonathan Majors was pulled by others. She said she didn't want to throw anyone under the bus. This was in a conversation with Angela Yee on her show, Way Up with Yee. And she said that it never aired because of pressure. Let's check out what she said.
Me, it was it's not just me. I have partners, and so it was then suggested or decided that, without throwing anybody on the bus, that we shouldn't put it out. But I love Megan, and I'm happy for her, and I support her. And when the interview came up, I was, he was interviewing. I felt like, hey, well, let's, he did a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, well, let's talk. I would
for some reason, you in particular were the one that people was upset about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's just the way that I think that people are like, not my girl Keke, but it's like, well, she's literally doing,
and it's like, just because you're interviewing somebody doesn't mean you agree with everything. Doesn't mean that. It just means I'm interviewing someone, and this is a conversation, and there could be some questions that the audience wants to know that I'm willing to ask.
Exactly.
But if we don't, if he's not gonna hit you and ain't gonna land, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Right.
You can't interview everybody who just only has your views and your thing. That's weird.
That's CNN.
Exactly.
I'm kidding.
So, I think it is important. She brings up a great point. We don't always interview people that we like or agree with. The point is to get information, to have a conversation, to hear their point of view. We can't know where they stand and where to hit them. In some, I understand we're in very different times if we don't talk to these people about it. It is unfortunate, but much like I have pointed out that Shannon Sharpe, we haven't been hearing as much hype with Club Shay Shay as of late. And I've noticed on Nightcap, there are less sponsors featured. Litigious times, situations that involve questionable behavior, people are leaning in. All right, coming up, we have an interview with Yonas Kibreab. He's the breakout star of Pixar's Elio that also stars Zoe Saldana. It's about a young boy who gets abducted by aliens who think he is the leader of a free world. It's animated. It's super cute. So we're going to hear the details of the story a little bit from him. He's 15. The character is 11. And we're going to be talking with Clifton Powell, who breaks down his guest role on season 4, episode 3 of BMF on the hit Starz crime drama. He plays Pastor Coleman, a man who is as eloquent from the pulpit as he is around a bank account. So you'll hear all the details of that on the other side. And make sure that you are tapped back in every Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. to lock in with me to get these trending topics and headlines. All right. I will personally speak with you guys on Monday.
Your ride with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, also known as AD, a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior, making everyday tasks challenging. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? There are things you can do to help reduce your risk for developing AD. Managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure is crucial. Staying physically active, maintaining social connections, eating a healthy diet, and keeping your mind engaged with activities like reading or puzzles can all contribute to brain health. It's also important to recognize some common signs and symptoms of early AD, such as forgetfulness that causes problems with everyday life, asking the same question a few times in a row, and difficulty concentrating on basic tasks. If you see these signs in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatallzearly.com. That's treatallzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Now back to more entertainment news with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
So, starting off, we're introduced to this preacher, and it is apparent that he is charismatic and knows how to work a room as well as a bank account. What were your thoughts about playing a man of the cloth that also has an interest in, the business of spirituality?
Well, like I said earlier, when I get the call, I read the script and I think, I always like to try to play interesting characters. And this guy is quite interesting, the dilemma between being a spiritual man and also, needing the money and being a bit capitalistic. So it's kind of quite a dilemma. But I also, want people to understand when you start, when you do a TV series, characters build arcs. And this guy may start out one way, and over a course of maybe season 5 and season 6 and 7 and 8, you may see him make a total transformation. So you always started out kind of like in the murky area, and then you build on that character as writers and producers, So we'll see where Pastor Coleman goes after this,
True. He tells Lucille richness comes in many forms, and we're not ashamed to put ours on display for the Lord, which kind of reminded me of the old preacher back in the day, Reverend Ike, how he talks about circulating the money and things of that nature. So in your opinion, is he a true believer or is he just a master salesman?
I think he's a bit of both. Pastors lead a kind of weird, kind of interesting balance to being a pastor. And if you're not super grounded in discipline in the spiritual, it can take you for a kind of weird ride, because you have so much power in terms of your voice and your charisma, your presence. So you have to really be careful with that. And I think, Pastor Coleman, we see one slice of him in this episode 3 that I'm in on June 20th, which is episode 3 on BMF. So we'll just have to see where he goes from this episode and how he evolves and how he grows. But it's a slippery slope.
He talks to Lucille about seeing a light in her and, that he could change her from a church mouse to bigger things, right? And when she says she's a pastor, he seemed a little taken aback. Was it because, did he really see a light in her, or is that part of, making your flock feel the power of the word?
Well, like I said, when you're a pastor, you have a lot of power. And people hang on your every word. And pastor's a charmer too, A pastor's job, if you run a big church, is to get more people in the church, And you sweet talk them, you do whatever you can. Of course, he has posters of himself in the lobby. He has an ATM machine in the lobby. He's throwing money around the church. I don't think he's all bad. I think part of that is just for show, But I also think, in a TV series, he may start this way in season 1, and by season 3 or 4 or season 5 or 6, he may have made a transformation. Somebody might have brought it to his attention that he's a little too over the top. So we just have to see where this guy goes. But I think it's a combination of charm and hustle.
So at this time period, he brought up a good point that opulence attracts people, and you reach more people, you got to get them how you can get them, so to speak. And we know that this is a church where there's celebrities, there's athletes in attendance. Does that alter how he presents his message, or, how he presents himself, because he feels that he must be a light to attract more light? Well,
I think he leads with his charisma. I think he knows he's an amazing preacher. Good preachers are, effective, and they get inside of your bones, So I think he has all of those tools. He's an old school pastor. He's been around, and he knows how to charm. He knows how to, lay it on heavy. So it's all of that as a part of bringing people into the church, and I don't think he sees anything wrong with it. I think he's a little over the top with the money, but money runs the world.
It does. So also we see that, Meech gets word of Pastor Coleman's church from one of the people that he does business with. And so what are Pastor Coleman's views on that side of the life coming into his church, potentially, tithing with that type of ties to the funds as well?
Well, I think in this episode, I don't know if we get a chance to unravel all of that. I think, the way Pastor Coleman, at least my interpretation, he's a pastor, and the more people in the church, the better. I got a new family here, and come on in. And, maybe down the road, as I learn what they're dealing with, maybe pastor may be on the fringes of it, or he may walk away from it. I think we'd see that if we came back in season 5 or 6. Because as you know, in a TV series, there's going to be some conflict, so we don't know if Pastor Coleman will be in the middle of some of the things that Meech and those guys are doing and has to make a spiritual decision not to get involved. I'm not exactly sure.
What's the fun in playing a character like this? Like you said, that's charismatic, but, believes in the word and is all flashy and brings all that spectacle to it.
Yes. Well, it's always fun when you can play a character that's kind of like a spectacle. And this guy is truly a spectacle. I can't, listen, I've never played a pastor like this. I can preach and I'm trained and all of that, but he's pretty much over the top and he's pretty capitalistic. And so I'm anxious to see how this guy, how wild and crazy, because I know it was a wild and crazy day. But I also think as we develop this guy, we'll see that some of that is show and some of it he's putting back into the community. And he's doing some wonderful things inside the church and inside the community. I think he's a stand-up guy who just goes a little bit too far. He's a little over the top, you know?
So, I mean, there's this thing that, you know, the kids say righteousness and ratchet can exist in the same space. Is that sort of where we are when we meet Pastor Coleman and we look at what is happening with the flock and the money and all of these things, that it's just, you know, leveling where Atlanta is at this time is 96. The Olympics are headed here. And, you know, it's a bustling city for Black people and Black excellence.
Well, I don't think Pastor Coleman is exploiting that. I think he understands the trend. It's like being a musician. You know, if you did funk and now funk is out, you got to recreate and try to get some funk and disco in there somewhere, you know? So I think Pastor Coleman is a smart pastor. I think he understands he probably came out of the streets. You know, I don't know his whole backstory, but I'm sure he came out of the streets. If you watch him preach, you know, he's been around, he went to seminary school, but he understands that this new generation, you know, you got to have money to run a church and do the things that he may want to do in the community. I think, you know, maybe his style is a little, you know, more flamboyant than we would like, but I think he's grounded. I think he's a good guy, you know. And
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The city of Aurora, Colorado is being sued after moving city council meetings online.
And we would put all meetings virtually until there was a ruling in the Colin Lewis civil case.
Median Holmes, a community advocate, says ending in-person comments silences